Yeah, I'm getting stronger.
So I'm excited to be able to partner with you. For real. I love this. I love this.
So we can get stronger.
Become aware of your thoughts. To be a fit individual, you have to become aware of what you're thinking on a daily basis.
It's so weird. It sounds
Right.
weird.
It sounds crazy, but
Makes me really happy to hear that. Keep strengthening. Welcome to StrongHome, where we're focused on strengthening the family unit. And do you know what today is? It's our anniversary. It is actually. It is our anniversary month, guys, and we are focused on commitment. Most of the time we focus on like keeping your vows and making sure to keep your word. And this is something similar, but with a little twist. Today we have obviously Jeff and our good friend, JayCee.
Hey.
JayCee is actually in a relationship now, right?
Yeah.
Would you say it's a committed relationship?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Why? What makes it committed as opposed to just like, we cool?
Right, exactly. I mean, because there's a difference, right? It's like before you get to that phase of an actual relationship, it's like, all right, we're figuring things out. We're kind of just like friends that hang out, have a romantic interest. But until you have that discussion specifically that, hey, we're exclusive, I see my relationship functioning this way, it's not that yet.
How did you get there to where you are?
Oh, it's definitely a process because you already know, like, it starts out one way where it's like, okay, how do you go from friends or just knowing somebody to then having that romantic relationship? And I'm someone who I try to take it somewhat slower as far as find out each step along the way. Like, do I see my lifestyle fitting with that person? And when we are together, what does that feel like? And as I did feel comfortable in how I felt like I could pursue my career and my interests without having to sacrifice my happiness, and I could still also amplify hers without being the source of it, that's where I started to feel like, okay, it's sustainable. It's something I could do. What I don't like is when you have to be the source of happiness.
Ooh, yeah.
And you have to continue filling up that cup that has a hole at the bottom.
Yeah.
It starts
the
to
cup
feel
that has the hole at the bottom. You can never fill it.
insatiable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Insatiable. It's
I
really
can say
good.
it, I can't spell it.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so Jeff and I have been married for a while now, because several years, right? But we also had long relationships prior to our relationship. He was married for 17 years. I was married for 20 almost.
Nice.
In that time frame, well, we say nice, but it's over. Right? Those ones. So now we have a new relationship where we're working through together. So is there any part of you that is a little bit worried about potentially getting into a commitment, having that longevity, and then having it be over, and then having to start again?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Like you think about that sometimes?
Oh, yeah, all the time, for sure. Like, the end of the relationship, I think, is what everybody is, like, dreading.
Right.
You know, and some people don't get into relationships to avoid the end of the relationship. And that was me for a while too. I had like good 8 years with literally no committed relationships. And I enjoyed that time. And I found that time to be good for me to find my pursuit of happiness.
How did you do that?
Oh, I just had a very, very simple conversation every time at the beginning. Like what this is not is a relationship. And we're not going to go to that point, not because of anything you are doing or you are per se, but because of the space that I'm in. Like, how can I say I could be in a committed relationship where I'm still finding myself and what I want to do and what I want to be? Because then you're looked at for certain things, leadership and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if I'm still trying to find these things in my life, I don't want to hinder you or what you're doing, right? So if I can't give you that, then fine. Like, I know I won't take it past a certain point. But it does require that conversation up front, because there are a lot of people who don't have that conversation, and then they're living in this gray area where one person feels more comfortable than the other. And that's where feelings get hurt.
Did you ever have those conversations, Jeff, like with other women where you were like, hey, we're just, I don't know what y'all call that crap. We're just hooking up. We're just hanging out. Like,
I never used the word hooking up.
I
like
know.
that,
I don't know what you.
I there were periods of time where I was so confident in who I am and where I was at that moment that total honesty and transparency was the lifestyle that I was living and the norm for me. Whether they could take it or not, that's how I was living at that time. Where
what did that sound like?
Similar to what JayCee just said. Hey, I'm not in a position to give you a full monogamous relationship. I'm not there. I'm in a position, it could have been I just came out of a relationship, or I'm finding myself, I find you attractive, or there's something I'm attracted to about you, your intelligence, your physical or whatever. I want to get to know you. I like your energy, but I'm not in a place to commit all of me to you.
Okay, I just want you to understand what I hear from both y'all is I just want to get the benefits of having your company, and y'all expect, in my opinion, for there to be some type of an exclusivity, even if you say you don't, because I'm pretty confident that at that stage in your life and at that stage, what you were saying, that 8-year duration that you had, you guys were not okay if they were sleeping with a whole bunch of people and then coming back home to you.
You know what? One thing I love that I want to address real quick. It's just, it's so common. It's like you say 1, 2, 3. So what you're really saying is 8, 9, 10.
Right.
I didn't say that. You
didn't
say
at all.
that either. You know what I'm saying?
I said that's what I heard. That's what it sounds like. Y'all just don't want to commit.
Filter. This is the filter.
Yeah. What's my filter? Okay.
Well, we heard it in real time. But
you did.
But what we're saying is if she is doing other things with other people, that's cool. Like for me, I don't hold them to a whole set of a bunch of rules, right? Because who am I to even enforce anything on somebody's life like that? But do I have a preference that they not mess around with so many other people, especially not unprotected? Yeah, because there are real life consequences to that, whether it be STDs or whether it be having kids or whether it be the drama between two men that are messing around with the same girl and didn't know it, and now they're thrust into this whole machismo battle of who's who. And it happens. And then you're driving a wedge between people that had no business being angry at each other.
And are you reciprocating that same expectation?
No. But what I'm saying is I don't enforce that on anyone. That's what I'm saying. I don't enforce that on her, and she shouldn't enforce that on me unless we have that conversation. And that's where a discussion is had. Like, oh, how do you feel about this? Or how do you feel about that? And then some people are like, oh, yeah, you can hook up with other people, but don't tell me. Or don't make it apparent.
Gosh.
But I'm not saying that's the set of rules. I'm saying everybody as an individual in their own situations had that ability to manage it. You know?
I hear you. And I get it. And Jeff was on your side for 4 seconds ago.
On the side?
Well,
No,
just what you said right
it's
now.
It's not a side. It's what was the reality of it. So he made a great point to what you said. He said 1, 2, 3.
You said
you
8,
came
9,
back 8, 9, 10. He didn't say 8, 9, 10. I didn't say 8, 9, 10. What we said is you meet someone. There is some attraction. It can be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Those are typically the things that you're going to be attracted to. Right. Not all men, but for the most part, if you meet a woman, typically the first thing is there's some level of physical attraction, right? When she speaks, then her mannerisms, how she acts in a certain environment, now you're going beyond just the physical, right? So now you're like, okay, she has some intellect. She has emotional quotient. She's able to deal with this type of environment, and I like that, right? So now you've gone beyond, I thought she looked good. Yeah. Now I think she may have some other attributes, conversation, frequency, because you got to be on the same frequency. So if you meet, it's usually, I met you at a function. Depending on that type of function, there was energy and there was frequency transfer, right? If you met each other on the same type of energy, doesn't mean that's the perfect match, but at least we had something that attracted us. Right. Now that we have that attraction, you don't know what I got going on. I don't know what you got going on. We just had a moment of impact. That moment of impact now says, based on what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, these emotions, I want to take it a step further and exchange information so I can get to know you. Right. That has no commitment to it other than I want to get to know you. Okay. Even if I'm attracted to you in a way that I'm saying I want you physically, she's not bound to do anything, right? So that's where after the moment of impact and we exchange information and we start to dialogue, that's going to start to determine what direction this goes in. And that's where sometimes females and males get off track, right? Because from that initial interaction, there are a lot of things that are able to be read. How you talk, how you present yourself, how are you dressed, who are you with, right? You shouldn't judge a book by a cover, but based on the cover that you showed, I could be judging you, and you could be judging me. I might have drove with my friend in his car. He don't got the best car. You see us pull up at the valet, and now you think oh, he don't got money. I'm just driving with him. You have a short skirt, a split in the top. Just because you have that on, that don't mean you're a freak.
Right.
But my experiences and my perspective could read the room that way and be totally wrong. So when we start to conversate, now we start to fill in the blanks and we start to create a world around what you're presenting to me.
Okay. I see this. I'm wondering where the progression of getting from where you're at to the commitment part comes in, because you've already told let's just say in those 8 years that you had that, I don't even want to say celibacy because I don't think that's what that was
not celibacy
at all.
Right.
But in that time frame that you were not dedicated to one human, one
He could have been selling a bit and somebody could have been buying a bit.
Yeah, celibate. Boo.
That happens too. That happens too. I'm not gonna lie.
Not money exchange. It could be other exchange.
There is definitely manipulation that takes place. Right. From either side. It could be you had a clear discussion on where this was going and the man is lying and then he is doing things outside of what the agreement was. That's totally possible, and that's just as wrong, or it's probably more wrong, than like the girl who gets overly attached and now is trying to force this man into a box that he was clearly saying he's not comfortable in being in, whether it's in that specific relationship or in that time of his life, right? Mm-hmm. Because I don't think that just by meeting somebody, it could be the right person at the wrong time. And that's just as bad as like, the wrong person at the right time type thing where you're ready to settle down, but you settle down with the wrong person and now you're stuck in that whole thing just because you want to be in a relationship because you were in that mood or in that feeling.
Fair, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so the relationship you're in now, why did it work out to where you decided I'm ready for a commitment? Was it just, because you guys were super good friends before.
Yeah.
And just kind of.
It just happened, right.
It is transition.
For me, it's a personality thing. It's like, do I feel like my life can continue in the path that it's on and you're going to enhance it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because when two people get together in a relationship, things over time start to merge, right? Like you guys start to become on a schedule together and you understand, oh, this person's home at this time, so that's going to be when we spend time together.
Right.
How does that all look in reality, in the practical sense of the everyday life? So that's kind of how I was thinking about it. And once I felt like it made me happier just as a person and better, I was just like, you know what, let's go for it. And everybody around me loved her. So I'm like, it can't just be me if like, people I'm taking advice from that made her have a similar feeling. So
does let's go for it, does that look like, let me sit down and have the talk? Is there like a talk that happens? Like, how do you know your commitment? You're committed. How do you know that?
Well, we did have a bunch of little discussions throughout on what that would look like. Mm-hmm. Not with each other as far as like, oh, in a me and you type of sense, but in an ideal world, what is it that you're looking for? Right. And I think that's better than having the discussion of, oh, what is it that it would look like between us two and what are you looking for out of me? Because I want to know what are her interests. And I feel like some people don't take that into account. Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, what would you do for me? And then that becomes really self-centered. And then you're not fulfilling the other person. You're looking for the other person to fulfill you.
Yeah. And
then there's this game of, what are you doing for me? What are you doing for me? What are you doing for me? As opposed to like, shoot, you're looking, this is what makes you happy in a relationship. Well, let me just do a little bit more of this. And then I know I'm doing good. I know I'm making you happy.
Yeah.
And then she's doing the same thing in return.
Yeah. That's one of the things that when you actually get in a relationship, this is a pain point right here. When you realize or when you've heard, I need to serve this person, right? In order for this relationship to work on its highest level, I have to surrender and say I'm going to serve and not only look to be served. Right. And that's where a lot of people, it falls off right there. Where I was just watching a clip on Instagram and there was a couple getting married. And when they got to the point of obey, she would not say it.
Wow.
She refused to say it.
Right.
And so even the minister was like, we went through this in counseling. And she was like, yeah, basically like, yeah, we went through it, but I'm not saying it. So how can you how can he surrender himself to her when she ain't willing to surrender to him?
Right.
Right. And I think that that's a point where after you had that conversation or you're starting to get to know somebody, you need to really understand, is this somebody who only wants to receive or only wants to receive more than they're willing to put in? It's a bank account. A relationship is a bank account and it's easily quantifiable. Yeah. You can easily look and see how many deposits have you made? And based on the deposit that you made, how much can you withdraw?
Yeah.
But a lot of people want to withdraw and their relationship bank account is in the negative.
Yeah, wow. That's it. So what if maybe that word obey was what just caught her up? Because obey almost sounds like a dictatorship. And I don't believe that's what a marriage or a committed relationship should be, is a dictatorship. One person tells you and you just do it. There's a level, I think that's even why in the Bible, it says to submit yourself one to another. So there is that exchange of reciprocation. And when somebody says, I promise to love, cherish, and obey, and I guess I didn't watch the clip, but it was probably them saying it to each other, right?
They're saying the vows. He said it.
Right, but I'm saying that's what I was saying.
He said it, and then it was her turn.
Yeah.
So then that's where I could see that, because like I feel like she probably should have agreed to this because they are submitting themselves to one another. And that's maybe it's the word that messed that up. Because I don't know, the dictatorship seems like that's where I would get a little bit caught up.
And I feel like a lot of people have this traditional way of looking at a relationship where it's like there's a hierarchy, the man and the woman's underneath him, and then the woman has to do what he says. I'm totally not like that. Like, I want her to be an enhancement to my life as I am to hers. So she needs to be capable of making independent decisions. And if she needs help, that's why I'm here. I'll help if I need to make the last call on things. Cool, I'll be the leading force on whatever I have to, but I don't want it to become a crutch. Because I want her to be independently happy and still be able to function, right? But if I have to be that backbone of the relationship, cool. But by default, I don't want it to be a whole like dictatorship like you're saying. Because it's a relationship. You're supposed to be building together, not just like I tell you what to do and you cook and clean. Like that's an old school way of thinking. I don't necessarily function that way.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, if you say dictatorship, that's something totally different than, at the end of the day, somebody needs to be the final decision maker, right?
Covering.
Yeah, you have roles and responsibilities. There are roles and responsibilities in a relationship, in a marriage, right? In any partnership or even a friendship. We have roles in that relationship, right? And sometimes one of the friends lead, just like a couple, the man may lead, sometimes the female may lead. You have different experiences that you're bringing together, right? So an example would be your girlfriend or your fiance or wife may be an accountant.
Right.
You may not be good with finances. So that's an area that she should probably take lead in.
And you should submit to,
and
so you don't mess it up.
Yeah, you should work together in that area because
Exactly.
she has life experience, she has knowledge, and she's been in that for a while. So take her advice. Doesn't mean everything she's going to do is right, but she should take lead on that. Whereas if you have another area of, I am an entrepreneur and I know how to build business.
Yeah.
Okay, I may lead in that area. Or if I have more experience in investing in real estate or stocks, okay, let me take a lead in that.
Yeah.
But you still have your opinion and your word is valuable.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that just because I'm the head of the house that I should be leading everything, because I could lead us down
the
wrong path. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because a man is not right by default because he's a man. And the same thing where a woman's not wrong by default because she's a woman, or the other way around, you know, and vice versa. Everything, I look at it in a very independent, like situational thing. Like you said, if you have a specialty in something, you can take the lead in that. I don't mind taking a back seat in a situation where I may not be the leading force in it or the leading expert in it, but I'll always be willing to put the effort into either find it out and be that person if neither one of us are good, or just be educated enough in it to be like reinforce her ideas or just be able to continue building upon what she's doing.
So when people don't, when a man, I'm going to say man because as a female, I know my perspective. So from your perspective, when a man does not immediately commit to a person, is it because they're literally not ready? Or I guess it could be both. Or is it because the person is not?
You know, why don't we hear your perspective first?
Of what? Of the same question I asked?
Yeah. What is your perspective of what happens on the other side of that?
That's a great question. I feel like if a man is not willing, I kind of said it already and got a little blasted, but I feel like if a man does not want to commit, then it's because he wants to play. It's just my opinion.
What does play mean?
Not have to be accountable, not have to a woman, not have to to meet certain expectations, not have expectations placed on them that they will have to come up to meet, if that makes sense, in my opinion. Right. I feel like if you're like, oh, let's go hang out and spend some time, but I don't want to be committed, that's what I'm saying. It sounds to me like, let me go do what I want to do and still use you to fill a space, whether it's a space on my calendar or a space in my heart, a space in my being, just because I'm bored or because I want to play or because I want sex or whatever that looks like.
And is that the guy's fault?
I'm not saying that is at all.
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm asking because there's a point where every key should not go into every lock, right? Every key does not unlock every lock. And just because there's a key and a lock doesn't mean they go together. So the point being is that there's a lot of conversation around this topic right now, male, female, and there's high value men get thrown around, high value women get thrown around. And when you start to break that down, what makes a high value individual, male or female? I've heard a certain height. I've heard a certain, they want a certain, you never heard that women want 6 feet or higher?
Some people,
I'm just saying. I'm not saying this is all women. I'm just saying, general sense. They say there's a certain height they want him to be. There's a certain build that he has to have. There's a certain level of finances, right? And so when you start to break that guy down, there's only a few of them in the world that fit that criteria or that imagination that girls have been growing up with since they've been playing with Barbies.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And so those men at that level, right, when you want to check all those boxes, there's few of them. And because there's few of them, there's so many women coming at them that it's even almost unrealistic for them to be able to handle it, because you have, let's just say there was a ratio of, for every 10 women, there's one of those guys that fits that checkbox criteria. Then you go down to the next level of, you take one of those things out, there may be 2 guys, right? Then you go down and check 2 or 3 more boxes, then there's 5 guys. Those 5 guys are looked past because they don't check the other 4 boxes. They don't even get the opportunity.
So your original question was, is it the guy's fault?
Yeah, I'm saying, is it the guy's fault at that high level because so many women are coming at him, and he has so many, but it's a woman's choice to go after him.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Is it the guy's fault that he then betrays that commitment because he has a lot of options? Yeah, because you still have to have self-discipline the same way I would have to resist eating too much food if I'm trying to stay fit.
Yeah, but she's asking, she's saying when you meet him,
right,
he's already seeing other people.
Right.
You're a new one.
I'm not saying committed on the first date. I'm saying when the guy is like, hey, I really like you, I want to spend some time with you, we're on our 5th date, I'm not looking for a commitment. Or we're on a first date.
So what you're saying, he's being upfront and being...
Yeah, he's being honest, that's fine. And then from there, if she decides, okay, cool, let me go ahead and continue in this relationship, is that what you're saying? It's not his fault because she agreed to it?
Think about it this way. Yeah, the word relationship is a sticky word only because it can be used in so many different contexts and mean so many things.
Yeah.
I have a relationship with the person I go shop with all the time.
Okay.
We have a business relationship.
Fair,
we have a friendship relationship. So therefore, the relationship word is a little confusing because there's a relationship between everybody.
So what word should we use?
So they use this right now.
Well,
situationships.
No, that sounds stupid.
Okay.
You find yourself in a situation where you and this person are great together and y'all love comedy. Y'all put yourself in that situation and y'all have an amazing time. If you wanted to come home and cook dinner for him, you can't cook. So he don't put you in that situation because you're not able to cook for him.
Yeah. Well, also too, just because you have a physical chemistry with somebody, does that necessarily mean you have a lifestyle chemistry, that same kind of friendship and connection you look for in a relationship? I don't think that's the case.
So can we just be friends? Can you put that person in a friendship category and leave them there?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, and if they wanted,
we can.
And if they wanted that, they wouldn't have sex with us in the first place.
Exactly.
Remember, it's 2 people. It's not just, oh, the dude wanted it and the girl had to participate. It was 2 people, but somehow it's our fault and we're the bad guy.
No, one of the things
we're being clear with our intention. That's what makes it not manipulative. You're not using somebody. You're being a very forward, honest, genuine person about your intentions, and you're saying where you're at in life and what you're trying to do in this scenario. And if you agree to those terms, nobody's using you, nobody's manipulating you. The expectations are what you set, not what you make it, but what you set as two individuals talking about this situation. That's the expectations. Well, you had prior expectations for what you imagine as this man that's going to be there. That's for the person you're looking for in your life. And if you want to save yourself and just be with that person, then that's your choice. And you have every right to do that. But if both of you engage in this act, well, both of you have an agreement already on what this is and where it's going, I'm not responsible for the expectations you set for the person you want to be your husband. Because I'm telling you, in this scenario, that's not my intention from the beginning. If there's manipulation involved where they're being dishonest, they're wrong, right? Because there's people who lead each other on.
But there should be a check-in. Like, so at a certain point, let's just say week 1 versus week 16, right? At week 16, if there are feelings the feelings are being caught, then you need to say, hey, we need to come back, have a sit down and say, this is going a little different than what we had initially talked about. Right. I am actually starting to get feelings. And so I need to ask some questions right now so that I know how to manage my expectations. And that's where a lot of people fall off, is because they don't have that conversation as the relationship, friendship, whatever you want to call it, is progressing. Yeah. I'm still acting the way I've been acting, but now because I'm a thinker, I can think my way through it and I'm not using my feelings to be led by. You're leading with your feelings now. Yeah. And
okay, what if you move, like if you somehow end up moving in with the person that you are not?
Oh, that's a lot of steps right there.
I'm asking, is that committed? Are you committed
that
to
is
the
a
person?
Commitment.
I think so.
That is a commitment.
Should you have already had the conversation first before you move in?
Oh yeah.
But that is a commitment.
Okay.
That doesn't. But see, some people move in together and they still have open relationship. So you need to have that conversation.
Oh my gosh.
It's wild out there.
Very complicated.
But here's the thing. What I think there's a big issue is everybody has a set definition of what these things have to look like. And honestly, the real world doesn't function that way. A relationship is not the same between every single person.
Exactly.
It's not going to be XYZ is what you do, therefore XYZ is how everyone has to act. It's not going to function that way, period. So if we have these expectations based off of years of tradition, I'm sorry, but that's going to always lead you to being frustrated at what's going on. Society changes, the world changes, therefore the expectations of how we're going to act within a relationship, it's going to change. Now, an open relationship, that is an example of somebody who has a set definition of what they're going to do within that relationship. So they should have discussions on what does that look like? Is an open relationship mean both people could do whatever they want, whenever they want, with whoever they want? Or is it like we could do stuff but only together? I don't know. But I'm not saying that's the way to do it.
Yeah, we're not
but
saying
what I'm saying is you have to define that. If you don't have that conversation and it's really murky, you're going to get into trouble. Both sides are going to be unhappy eventually.
Stronger.